Hey guys, so I wanted to kind of do an update on I've been having flooding problems, not heavy flooding. For a while it was inside the 4Runner, inside the rig on the floorboard, on the passenger side of floorboard. I've been trying to dial what the hell it is. I've probably pulled this carpet up at least 50 times, either drying it out because that stuff gets incredibly wet, or the floor is just wet, and then the carpet, in turn gets wet, and then mold ensues. So trying to combat that by keeping things dry, but at the same time trying to find the source. And generally, it's usually the sunroof drains that get clogged up. I've cleared mine multiple times, and although that did help a little bit, I noticed it still was getting condensation and water down below on the floorboard. About last week, maybe about 5 days ago, I washed the rig. I sprayed it down with the hose really heavily, and then immediately pulled up the carpeting, and I found a little bit of a puddle right there in the corner. And I was like, oh cool, okay, so at least I know it's coming from in that direction. For the longest time, I've been trying to evaluate the number of things that it could be. Generally, it could be like, I think, one of 5 things, or maybe a multitude of them, or a combination of them, excuse me. But so usually sometimes it's from the roof rack. If you have like an upgraded roof rack and you didn't end up siliconing the mounting bolts in that location and inside, sometimes you'll get fluid in there or water dripping through there. But usually that comes down the B pillar here. And I wasn't getting any water over there. I checked, I opened this up and I checked, and there wasn't anything in there, and it was dry. Next, sometimes the AC condensation line, which is, I don't know if you can see, but right there, sometimes that'll get clogged up. And I blew that out with air, and I checked that, and I don't run the AC ever, so, which probably isn't a good thing. But, I was almost 100% sure that it wasn't coming from that as well. And so that leaves a few other options. The other one is the sunroof drain, or possibly cracks in the actual metal here from just old age and rust. And also it's right above where I believe the catalytic converter is and the exhaust piping. So, heat, water. All those cycles can potentially do something, but generally that's not what happens. I've heard that being an issue with the 3rd gen 4Runners, but ours, not as common, but possible. The next issue, or the next location that could potentially be an issue, is of course the sunroof drain, which I'm going to grab a light so you can see is the sunroof drain. If you can see that clear tube in there, that clear tube is the sunroof drain. And if that's plugged up, then water will drip on the outside of it from what I hear, and then start to collect in this area. So you would think that's what's going on. Also, if you have bigger wheels, bigger tires on our rigs, we tend to hammer the pinch welds up in the front. And I'll show you what that looks like really quick. So we ended up hammering the pinch welds, which, if you can see, I'll try and give some light. That's what I did. Now there's one direction that you're supposed to do it in. I think I did it in the wrong direction before I knew better, but that's generally what you do. But if you look there, you'll also see that there's a hole on the left. I'm going to try to see that hole, and that has a grommet in it, and I didn't realize that. I just pulled it apart today. I normally button this up. I sealed it with some paint. I ended up having I ended up having the fender liner cover the grommet, and then that little metal thing from the fender, like that metal tab that holds the fender liner in place, it lines up with that square. I had that cover that, and then I put the little clip in, And I salvaged my fender liners to be able to keep those in, you know, with the bigger tires and still not, you know, be hitting any metal. And what I'm coming to the realization, I also poured water on the roof and in here today, just a few moments ago, and tried to see if there was anything coming in. And maybe it just wasn't enough water. I don't know, maybe it takes quite a bit. But either way, what I feel like happened was when I was hammering this pinch weld, I compromised that grommet and the sealing space where that hole is. And if you look deep inside that hole, I don't know if you can see that, but that's the sunroof tube. So what ends up happening is potentially, and this is not every case obviously, sometimes it is 100% the sunroof, but when you think it could be collecting from the sunroof, it is actually potentially collecting from here if you've hammered your pinch weld. And you know, and what happens is water eventually finds its way through there and gets to that grommet, and it looks like it's coming from the sunroof drains from the inside, but in all fact it potentially could be coming here. So to remedy this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some silicone around that rubber grommet. I'll show you what the grommet looks like. I don't know if you can see this without the light, but this is what the grommet looks like. And the grommet was dry on the inside from me just pouring it, but then again, I didn't have like a whole bunch of rain to be able to do that, you know, to flood it with on the trail right now at camp. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some silicone around either there or on the grommet, and then I'm also going to use tough as nails. Some people use bed liner, but I have tough as nails on me right now, so I'm going to kind of seal all those cracks, and I will get back to you and let you know how it goes once it's dried, and if I have any more water issues inside the rig. I'm just getting tired of having to dry that carpet out and lift it up every time I get to camp, or whenever it rains, or whenever I go through a puddle, because it's wet and starting to smell like mold, and I'm trying to fight that and keep that away. So we'll see how this works out. I really hope it does. And this has been like a 2-year issue for me, so I'm really trying to just get it dialed in so I don't have to deal with it anymore, and hopefully something comes of it. So yeah, just if anyone has hammered their pinch welds, make sure that grommet isn't compromised. I'm assuming there's one on the driver's side as well, but again, that's an assumption, so there may or may not be. But if you do end up bending that steel, it's small sheet metal, so you know it very easily could leave an opening. And you know, now that I'm looking at it, well, I don't know, there's silver on the inside of this grommet here. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, there's like a little bit of silver. I thought that was maybe possibly the signs of like water, but man, this thing is as dry as can be. So I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some buildup of dirt in there. And when I poured water on the roof just a moment ago as well, I noticed water was literally draining in that one section by the pinch weld. So it does get an influx of water when it rains and when you go through puddles. And at first I thought this was only happening when I was driving through puddles, so I figured it either had to be the floorboard or the pinch weld. But I did end up cleaning out my sunroof drains again, which, you know, essentially, I guess what that did was just kind of open up, you know, the reason I feel like it's lightening up some things, and it did. You know, the flooding wasn't getting as bad because maybe some of that roof water was actually going through the drain a little bit easier, but it was still running down to the bottom of the pinch weld, and the pinch weld was collecting it, and quite possibly, and this is my theory, it was going through that grommet somewhere in a very small hole and collecting underneath the rug. And now I've got WeatherTech floor mats, so sure enough, that's just, you know, that's just a collection zone at that point. So yeah, I'll let everybody know how it goes. Hope this helps some people. Cheers. All right, folks, so that's what I did. I ended up using liquid nails just on the seams of the pinch weld that I messed with. I ended up putting silicone on the inside and then also on the outside, just around where it lines up against the inner part of the cab, to seal it up. And it looks like it doesn't look too bad. On camera it looks pretty crappy though. Looks like vomit. But yeah, it's a lot better than having water collect inside the rig, and then once that fender liner goes back on, it'll cover it up. I'm just gonna see how that works, see if that helps with anything. I'm praying it does. All right, everyone, I just wanted to give a quick update on fixing the floorboards on the 4Runner. So far everything seems to be working out just great. We recently had a storm over here in New Mexico, and it rained for pretty much a full day straight. Of course, I was just assuming that the next day I'd have to pull the carpets and get everything dried out and aired out. I checked it about 2 days later, and I wasn't smelling a musty smell. Everything felt dry. So I just wanted to kind of give a quick update on the results from sealing up that plug that I found over in the wheel well by the pinch weld, and then also putting some tack in by where the pinch weld was as well. So yeah, liquid nails I think it was I used. I just kind of wanted to give an update on that, and kind of let everyone know what I found. If anything occurs in the near future, I'll definitely post it in the comments below. I'll give it an update if maybe that solved the problem, or if I had to kind of just give it a little bit more silicone in there or anything like that. But so far so good, so I'm definitely stoked. Really looking forward to not having to air out the passenger floorboard every time it rains, especially with winter coming up. Snow doesn't seem to really do it as much, but I guess maybe when it melts it would. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, this has kind of been a 2-year issue for me. So if it's been solved, I'm really stoked, and I really hope that some of my journey is kind of possibly help some other folks, maybe kind of address some or problem solve some of the issues that they've been having. Again, generally it is the sunroof drains, and you can fix that by just running some weed whacker line or something down through those tubes all the way down to the bottom and clearing that gunk out. But also potentially, like I kind of showed in the video, it could be, if you've hammered your pinch welds, it could be an issue with that, where you kind of upset that gasket that little plug creates, and it seems like that may have been my issue. I wasn't seeing any cracks in the sheet metal from the hammering, but I feel like I did upset that, and maybe now that might solve it, because I've literally explored every other available option as to what could be causing the damage in the floorboard, or the water retention in the floorboard inside the cab. So yeah, hope this helps, and cool. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks so much, and like and subscribe if you feel like it. Cheers.